It's true. Like LA has an epidemic of homeless people right now, where there's so many tents on the street, and
Epi-fucking-demic.
they're everywhere. I mean,
they're on fucking Lancashire.
Yeah.
They're on. You know what? They're in Sherman Oaks. On the streets, hiding on the underpasses.
Underpasses are stuffed with them now sometimes.
You know, I mean, we have to. And what are you going to do with them?
You can't walk through those underpasses.
What are you going to do with them? You know what the answer is? You know what they usually do with them?
What?
They give them $100 and they give them a bus pass to Vegas. And now Vegas is stuck with them.
We talked about that on the podcast.
For 2 months.
Every city's done that.
Every city keeps doing it. You just keep moving them around like shit.
Yeah.
It's time to get fucking a park and put a tent city and make them be resourceful.
Look at this. There are more than 110,000 empty rental units in Los Angeles. Filling those spaces won't solve the housing or the homeless crisis. Yeah, but the problem is, if these fucking things are for rent and you have these homeless people that are drug addicts and probably mentally insane, and you let them stay in those rental apartments, they're going to destroy your rental place.
Well, let's be honest. There's 110,000. Oh, whoa.
It all depends on what kind of homeless person you're talking about. Are you talking about a person who's down on his luck, or are you talking about
mental illness?
Mental illness.
Drug addiction.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Violently.
When I see 60, when I see 100, when I see 10,000 homeless people in LA, I got to assume 4,000 of them are people who are down on their luck. They made a slip. They got 4 flat tires, and they just get, there's times people go through shit for periods of time. It could be a year.
Yeah.
It could be, it's like these fucking hikers. Every fucking 3 days a hiker gets lost, okay?
Yeah.
These hikers gets lost. And they stroll off. When they get saved, they're all happy. You see them on Eyewitness News, like all happy. Wait till they get the bill.
Did they get hit with a bill?
Oh, yeah.
Every time?
Most. We think those helicopters cost.
So
there's volunteer groups. There's volunteer. If every fucking hiker got paid for a fucking taxpayer, we'd be broke.
So, like in Colorado, say if you're one of those hikers who goes and snaps her ankle and you're on a ridge somewhere, they come and get you.
That costs somebody money. You got to pay somebody. There's no fucking tax fund.
How much does that cost?
Well,
that's going to cost a lot of money.
If you get hit, listen, if you, like lady who got stuck in Hawaii for a week, wherever the fuck she was a month ago, those helicopters cost something.
She got stuck in Hawaii? Oh, the lady, the yoga teacher that got lost in the woods?
Yeah.
They found her, right?
Yeah, they found her. I assume, I'm just saying this story just because what happens if something like that happens to you and you get hit? You ever get involved in a lawsuit? Okay, in a lawsuit, I rear-end Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's neck and, God forbid, his neck and his back are hurt. He can't do Ugats, right? You file a claim against me. While you're going to the doctor, right, all those months, what does the doctor usually pay you at? Everything's payable at 30 days. Net 30 is it. When you start getting those $1,100 bills from when they look in your knee and in your neck, when you get 10 of those, how are you going to pay them? Because you can't pay it till you get the settlement from the fucking attorney. A lot of times people go broke. By the time they get the money, the ship has sailed. It takes 7 years to get that money. You've been going to the doctor for 3 years. Wait, you think insurance covers all this? What insurance?
Well, tell everybody with the neck collars it's more complicated.
What's that?
Tell everybody with the neck collars.
Oh, yeah,
it's more complicated.
Yeah. So all those bills add up. You get hit with a bunch of bills, Joe, you're homeless.
Yep.
You're homeless. It's you and your wife, whatever, it's homeless. Unless you have parents and, you're homeless. And you're in a so when I look at the homeless situation, when you hit me with a 50,000 number, which is a lie. If you go around LA, it's a lie. Land at the airport and hook that fucking thing onto the 405 North and look under that. There's 100 people just under there. So whatever number they tell you.
What do you think they tell you as far as like homeless population in LA?
I don't know. I know Garcetti's under fire. Like I know that they're fucking like the people are pissed because they gave him $2 million. They gave him $2 million. They gave him money and he didn't do dick.
Oh really?
Yeah, they gave him some type of money. You got to put up some shelters. I saw that up in North Hollywood, Studio City, there's a church that on Thursdays they go and take showers there.
When you see, all these folks that are on medication today, I mean, how many of these people do you think legitimately should be on medication? I mean, is it something you can assess?
I can't answer that in terms. I mean, I'm sure there's research of people, how many people are on medication, but in my personal experience, most of the people that I see on medications, in my opinion, don't need most of the medications they're on. Now, and that's just anecdotal. That's my opinion. You asked me to hand you a research survey or study to support that. I can't hand it to you, or I can't point you to one. I can just tell you, after 45 years in this experience, I see people that are on medication. They've usually seen someone for 6 or 8 minutes and said, I'm really feeling kind of down or blue.
Yep.
Here's some Prozac, here's this, here's that. They give it to them, and they don't even really ask, well, why? And they just give it to them because medicine has become a high-volume business. And that's not necessarily the doctor's fault. I mean, the way that it's now funded, and Medicare and Medicaid, you got to turn them and burn them. And, or you can't stay in business. And so it's a high-volume business, and so they throw pills at them, because they don't have an hour to sit down, or don't take an hour to sit down and talk about it and say, well, let's find out what's going on. Is there a reason? Like I said, if this guy's got 5 parts of his life that have gone down, or a woman has got 3 or 4 areas of her life that have really gone down in quality, then they should be having poor mood. So why mask that? Let's come up with an action plan and change it. So most of the people I see on medication, not all, but most of the people I see are on too many medications in too high a dose, or either don't need it at all. And I am really bothered by polypharmacy. That's where I really get frustrated.
Yeah, this is, I think what you're saying is a very common sense approach, but it's not the norm today.
No.
It seems like more people are treating this, air quotes, depression issue as if it's a medical disorder like diabetes or something where you need medication.
Yeah, and look, for a lot of people it works. I mean, you give people a mood elevator and they say, hey, I feel better.
And then maybe they change their life.
Yeah.
Maybe they move their life into a more positive direction. They can wean themselves off of it.
Because one of the things about depression, for example, you're using that as an example, is you get what's referred to as psychomotor retardation. There's a lessening in activity level. And I think old sayings get to be old sayings because they're profound. Like, you're not going to get a hit if you're not swinging. Mm-hmm. Well, if you're depressed and so you think slower, less actively, you behave less actively, your chance of getting rewarded goes down, right? You don't get out there and you don't mix it up socially as much. You don't apply for jobs as much. You're not as productive on your job as much. So you're less likely to get strokes. You're less likely to get rewarded. Well, maybe you go take a pill and it lifts your mood up, so you get more active, and so now you start getting pats on the back. You start getting people to engage with you more. So that lifts your mood and that takes care of it. So you took the medication short term, you're lifted back up and you're okay. Short term, it can be an alternative. But I've seen people on everything from opioids to mood elevators for years, and that's where you lose me. I just don't get it.
Yeah, I know people that have been on things since they were 5 years old, and they're in their 40s.
Yeah. And then you have wastebasket diagnoses like ADD and ADHD, where what used to be a spoiled brat is now ADD or ADHD. Right. So they start prescribing these
Ritalin,
neocortical stimulants like Ritalin. And if you give a kid that does not need a neocortical stimulant, you're really going to throw them off the charts now, because you've got a normally active brain that you're now making hyperactive. So you're creating a problem that didn't exist before you gave them the medication because you didn't do the proper diagnosis.
Yeah, I had my old neighbor had a situation like that. They had a kid, and the kid had a lot of energy, and they weren't paying attention to him. And so they started medicating him. It's insanely common.
Yeah, and you cannot chemically babysit your children.
And who knows where these kids are going to be 20, 30 years from now. I mean, we're just looking at this rash of people being treated for these ailments, air quotes, and then we're not seeing how this all turns out in the long run and how much damage we're doing to these people.
No. And in fairness, on the other end of the continuum, I have seen some people that are clearly psychotic, schizophrenics, delusional, that without medication are absolutely impossible to manage. But if you put them on antipsychotics, and so you can lower their delusional behavior, their hallucinatory behavior, so you can now have a meaningful conversation with them so they can respond to talking therapies, it makes all the difference in the world. And without those antipsychotics, you would be lost without them. So there are some medications for some disorders that are absolute miracles that without them you wouldn't be able to do the work you need to do to get the person back where they need to be.
Yeah, unquestionably. I mean, there's definitely a lot of great pharmaceutical drugs that help a lot of people. Do you get pushback from a lot of these positions from the established medical community?
Sometimes, but, mostly when you talk to people about it thoughtfully, they agree with what I'm saying. I mean, most people will agree that you need to be thoughtful about prescribing medications, and that medications are too readily administered. I mean, that's certainly what we've seen in the opioid epidemic right now. Opioids are so readily prescribed right now that there are enough opioid prescriptions for every man, woman, and child in America to have their own bottle. Whew. And if you renew that prescription one time, if you are taking those opioids at the 7-day mark, your chance of being addicted at 1 year is 1 in 12. And if you renew it if you're still taking them at 30 days, your likelihood of being addicted is 1 in 3.
Wow.
And these things are getting written with way too high a pill count. And so the addictions, we're seeing a whole different kind of addiction now coming out of the suburbs, and they take them for a while and they're very expensive, and after they take them for a while, heroin's cheaper. So they dump the opioids and start taking the heroin. So you're seeing soccer mom heroin addicts that you weren't seeing 10 years ago because they get started on prescription opioids and then they can't afford them. Or finally the doctor cuts them off, but they're addicted, and so they start taking heroin because it's cheaper.
No, this is obviously a very disturbing pattern, but where do you see this going? Like when you look at the future, I mean, it looks bleak in that regard. I mean, I've known several people that have had real problems with pills.
Yeah, the problem that I think people have is they think, well, because a doctor gave me this, because it's on a prescription pad, that this is safe. Your body doesn't know whether you got that in a back alley or you got it from a doctor. It still has the same addictive quality, and I think it is at an epidemic level. And I've testified before Congress about this, and I think there are several levels of accountability at the manufacturing level and at the prescription level and at the educational level so people understand. I think everybody has to take part of it, and I'm doing everything I can to raise the awareness about it as well.
When you testified before Congress, what was the reaction?
They're very much aware that this has become a serious, serious problem because the cost, as you see, the lost labor in the workforce is in the billions of dollars. You see the demands on the healthcare system that this is creating. Young mothers with children and babies born addicted to these opioids. I mean, the numbers are just going through the roof. So, I mean, it's putting a strain financially on the healthcare system that it just can't stand. So you start costing money, and it starts getting politicians' attention. So they start saying, okay, now we got to start doing something. So they get it. They get that there's a problem.
What could they do, though? It seems like once that genie's out of the bottle.
Well, clearly, you've got to start educating people, and the manufacturers have to be required to start labeling this much more clearly. Physicians have to be much more conservative in prescribing. I just had this shoulder surgery, and I took like one opioid, one pill they gave me in the hospital. And after that, you can manage it with like Tylenol or something, because the surgeons now are so good with the arthroscopic surgeries and stuff. It's so much less of an insult to the body that with ice and Tylenol and stuff, you can manage it if you just kind of focus on it a little bit. And and I'm not saying if you've had surgery and you're having organic pain, for God's sakes, get ahead of the pain and stay ahead. But as soon as you can get off of it, get off of it.
Yeah, and understand what's happening.
Yeah, there's no sense in being like macho. You don't need a leather strap between your teeth and go have some surgery. I mean, shit, if it hurts, take the pill, get past it, but realize the minute you can get away from that, you need to get away from it. But, they don't need to give you a 30-day supply.
Right.
They need to give you 3 or 4 days, and then you got to go see your doctor again, and if it's still a problem, discuss it. I mean, that's what I think needs to happen, is just be a lot more conservative about what you're giving.
The problem is these pharmaceutical companies make so much money.
Yes, they
do. They don't want to back off that. They got private jets and yachts to pay for.
Yeah, and they're starting to shut down some of these. They had some of these pain clinics in Florida, where you could go in without an X-ray, without an MRI, and just say you had back pain, and there was a doctor there that would give you a 90-count prescription on the spot, no questions asked. 90. And you're out the door, and you go down the street to the next one.
Yeah, because there was no database.
No database. And that doctor might be a foreign doctor that flew in from offshore, wrote all the prescriptions during the day, flew off again at night. And now they're shutting that stuff down. So the hammer's coming down.
Well, one can only hope. Oh, so going back to this asteroid impact.
Sorry.
There's a layer somewhere around 66 million years ago that indicates that the Earth got hit by an asteroid.
That's what I mean. Didn't I say that?
Yeah, I think the layer is high in iridium, I think, and iridium it's very rare on Earth but very common in space. And there's a bunch of other indications that that's the time that it hit. But what they're saying in the Radiolab one is that the current state of understanding is that the dinosaurs and basically most things died within the first couple hours. Like all the dinosaurs. Yeah. They were all dead.
And apparently their bones or their fossils are in that iridium layer a lot of times, right?
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, they found a lot of...
They find them before too, right? They just don't find any after.
It's crazy.
And they think that their blood boiled in their body. They think it got so hot that during the few hours it got to like 700, 1,000 degrees, 1,200 degrees. It just got insanely hot.
Dude, we're trying to get better at stand-up and stay in shape. Now I got to worry about that's a full-time job. Raise my kids.
That's what we really should be thinking about. Not just how bad we're fucking the Earth up, but how bad something could fuck the Earth up from the sky.
Yeah.
That's what we really should be paying attention to. Instead of paying attention to so many nonsensical things that people concentrate on, there's a real chance that we could get hit in our lifetime with something that ends civilization. Like that 100% can happen.
Yep.
Yeah, I had Graham Hancock on last week, and we were going over his new book. This book. Where is it? Isn't it right here, Jamie? It's right there. It's fucking, it's excellent. And Graham was talking about, it's called America Before. It's the evidence of civilizations in the Americas, in North America, particularly in the Amazon. They think that there was millions of people living in the Amazon, but when the European explorers came over here, they gave them smallpox and wiped out everyone.
Yeah.
And they came back hundreds of years later, and there was nothing.
Yep.
Like the entire civilization wiped out by diseases.
I feel like in 1492 or whatever, there was I think when the Spanish came up through the Mississippi Delta, the same thing.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
They wiped out a lot of people think that the genocide of the Native Americans was just European soldiers and people and settlers killing Native Americans, which did happen.
Yeah, but it was also influenza.
But 90% of them were killed by disease. Yeah. 90%. Like the entire population was devastated.
They even had certain government policies where they're like, you missionaries are going out there and trying to convert them to Christianity. You're giving them your diseases.
They knew that back then?
They knew that. They were like, they're getting sick and they're dying of, they were all of a sudden, they were like, we're getting these colds and people are dying. They didn't have any resistance to it.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. That those dirty Europeans with their shit water chutes outside their house and all the fucking vermin running around.
That was War of the Worlds. Remember War of the Worlds, the movie?
That's right. The disease.
How'd they die? They weren't ready for pathogens. That's my whole philosophy on. We all try to be tough. One of the things about all of us as men or anybody is we hate to be vulnerable. So, I train and I stay in shape. I eat well and I want to live forever. I don't think there's anything such thing as, I don't think this, you can be really ready for a situation, in a bar, I guess, and then you get bit by a tick or you get a flesh-eating disease.
Yeah.
And you die.
Sure.
So I don't know if there's any way to protect yourself.
Well, I mean, you can protect yourself, but you are ultimately very vulnerable. But then what this radio lab was freaking me out about was that there's so many of those things floating around the sky. I mean, this is what Graham talked about in not just this book, but in previous books, that they think that something slammed into the earth somewhere in the past that ended the Ice Age, probably wiped out a giant chunk of the large megafauna on North America. It led to the almost instantaneous extinction of so many different animals.
And so it goes.
Yeah, and so it goes. And it can happen again.
There could be a super volcano. There's all kinds of things like that.
All these fucking things.
It really makes you wonder.
What if an asteroid was going to hit Denver? NASA was practicing that this week.
Damn.
Denver.
They've done this before. They've had like a practice run using a bunch of the different...
Here's a practice run. Get in a boat, go to Australia. Do you know what that's from, honestly? Hookworm.
Hookworm.
Yeah, it's really crazy. The stereotype of the lazy, mouth-breathing Southerner came from massive amounts of people that were infected with parasites. And these parasites were extremely common, particularly when people walk around barefoot. And they would get these worms. And these worms would get into their system, and one of the side effects of these worms was a decreased brain function. So that's a real stereotype that came from a real thing. So pull up a hookworm in the South and then stereotypes. Because, I forget who told me this. But then I wound up going on a deep dive one night and just reading article upon article about this, where they didn't even find out that this was a thing until I think it was like the 1960s. They found out about this hookworm parasite. And this parasite that was extremely prevalent in the South. These things, many of them, how hookworm gave the South a bad name. Hookworms once sapped the American South of its health, yet few realize they continue to affect millions. So this is this worm would infect people. Make that a little larger, please. For more than 3 centuries, a plague of unshakable lethargy blanketed the American South. It began with ground itch, in quotes, a prickly tingling in the tender webs between the toes, which was soon followed by a dry cough. Weeks later, victims succumbed to an insatiable exhaustion and an impenetrable haziness of the mind that some called stupidity. Adults neglected their fields, and children grew pale and listless. Victims developed grossly distended bellies and angel wings, emaciated shoulder blades accentuated by the hunching. All gazed out dully from sunken sockets with a telltale fish-eye stare. The culprit behind the germ of laziness, as the South affliction was sometimes called, was Nectar americanus, the American murderer, better known today as the hookworm. Millions of these blood-sucking parasites lived, fed, multiplied, and died within the guts of up to 40% of the population stretching from southeastern Texas to West Virginia. Hookworms stymied development throughout the region and bred stereotypes about lazy, moronic Southerners. Well,
they talk like
there
that.
it is. That's why you do it. That's why we all do it. We do it because it was a real thing, and it was a real thing because these poor people were sick with parasites.
Wow. I learned some shit today, Joe.
Isn't that a nutty one? That's a nutty
one.
one.
And I'm from Texas.
That's when you go, oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. I always used to think it was just hot there, and it's hard to think.
Well, now when people say, you don't sound like you're from Texas, I'm like, thank you.
You do a little bit. I can hear a little bit.
Really?
There's a touch.
I say y'all still.
There's a touch. It's a touch, No,
you didn't know that. There's no touch.
Yeah. No,
really?
you have a touch of Southern, some Texan in there, just a touch.
Yeah.
But you're definitely not from New York.
No.
Yeah, I mean, you're
No.
not from Boston. It's like you have something going on there. There's one city in Pakistan. Is it Karachi? What is that city? Why can't I remember the name? That is that it? That was one of the cities that Shane Smith from Vice was saying was one of the most terrifying places on earth.
Oh yeah,
because the sheer cheapness of murder, like how cheap it is to get someone murdered over there.
Oh really?
And how much murder and crime goes on over there.
Oh god,
just a totally different metric.
Yeah,
for how you view the world. Totally different perception of what life is worth and what life is like.
Yeah,
and what kind of violence you have to deal with on a daily basis.
Oh god, I know. There's a lot of very dark places. That's why I don't like to travel.
You don't like to travel at all?
I do like to travel, but I don't. I'm starting to cross off a bunch of places.
That's your sketch?
Yeah, you know, between getting parasites that make you have to poop in a bag and send to your doctor, or ending up in like real violent places that don't have the same kind of rules that we do. It's, you know.
My friend Justin Wren, who runs Fight for the Forgotten charity.
I was just wearing his shirt at the beach yesterday.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Best guy ever.
Yeah.
He has a new intestinal parasite that's draining him, and he doesn't know what the fuck
No.
it is. Yep. Yeah, he's got something that he caught when he was over there.
Oh, no.
And
That's what I'm afraid of.
He's really sick.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's really sick.
Is he going to be okay?
I don't know. They're going to have to, hopefully.
Identify it.
Yeah, they have to figure out what it is, figure out how he got it, figure out what's going on.
That's no joke. What happened in the Dominican Republic? Didn't people died because they were drinking from the minibar? Did you hear that story?
Yes.
There's a lot of sketch. Yeah.
They were saying that people were putting stuff in the minibar that wasn't actually alcohol.
Yeah.
The story that I had heard was that they would put cheap substitutes for whatever the alcohol was supposed to be, so that people would pay for it, and then they would steal the actual liquor and replace it with something else, and then people would drink it. It was like poisonous,
and they were dying.
Yeah,
people really died.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible. I hope he's okay.
I don't know what the actual story was, but somebody else described it saying like the one thing is you concentrate on statistics, and I don't know if this is true. We should find out, but that if you concentrate on statistics, then it seems like a lot of people die in the Dominican Republic when they were over there. But the reality is that it's just the way we're looking at it, because we've chosen to start focusing on people who die over there. But in fact, it's like commensurate with people that die over here when they're on vacation.
Right, but it is only a certain number go to that resort. You know what I mean? In a year.
There's more than one resort, I believe.
It was?
Yeah, I think so.
Oy.
Well, a lot of people go to the Dominican, not now, but a lot of people were going.
I was there last year.
Were you?
Yeah.
So would you go back after all this?
No. First of all, I saw a story about a couple that went there and got hookworm in their feet.
Oh, you could definitely
from the beach. That I was already like, maybe I'm not going back. And now that you can't even drink from the mini bar, I'm like, you know what? There's nice places in Laguna Beach.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Laguna. Did you know that hookworm is responsible
Pismo Beach.
Hookworm is responsible for the stereotype of the Southern dummy?
No.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
People walking around the South barefoot were getting hookworm en masse, and hookworm has a detrimental effect on your ability to think.
Oh.
Yeah,
so
literally compromises your mental ability. It makes you dumber.
So like the trope of like a hillbilly walking.
Exactly.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, weird.
Yep. Did we find out about that from Peter Hotez? Is that who told us that?
That is weird.
How a worm gave the South a bad name.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Hookworms once sapped the American South of its health, and few realize that they continue to afflict millions.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Ugh, he looks so creepy.
It fucks with the way you think.
Ugh.
Makes you tired. Gives you fatigue. Yeah,
this podcast has turned very
exhaustion.
Dark.
Listen to this. Weeks later, victims succumb to an insatiable exhaustion and impenetrable haziness of the mind that some called stupidity. Adults neglected their fields and children grew pale and listless. Victims developed grossly distended bellies and angel wings, emaciated shoulder blades, accentuated by hunching. All gazed out dully from sunken sockets with a telltale fisheye stare. That is the stereotype of people from the South. And we just always thought they're just living in hot weather and they're just stupid.
God.
But what it really was
worms.
Was fucking hookworm.
Ew.
Isn't that amazing?
This podcast started off, we were having fun. We were talking about judo.
The culprit behind the germ of laziness, as the South's affliction was sometimes called, was Necator americanus, the American murderer, better known as the hookworm. It's called the American murderer.
Are they still out there?
Millions of those blood-sucking parasites lived fed, yeah, for sure, and died within the guts of up to 40% of the population, stretching from southeastern Texas to West Virginia. Can you imagine 40% of the population of the South in these places, from Texas to West Virginia, was infected? 40% of the population with a fucking worm that makes you dumb.
I'm never going anywhere ever again.
Isn't that incredible?
That's insane.
But that's what the stereotype came from.
Wow. How wild.
Fucking crazy.
That's insane.
You know, how many people are getting Lyme disease? And Lyme disease, although it doesn't make you lazy, it wrecks your health, devastates your health.
For years.
Yep.
For years.
That shit is happening right now on the East Coast.
It's all over the East Coast. My kids were back there working on a farm over the summer, and my daughter had a tick on her. We freaked out.
Should freak out.
Yeah.
You got to get it off before 24 hours.
Yeah.
And, you know, but you also, if you do get infected, you have to get on antibiotics really quickly.
Super fast.
There's a woman who wrote a book about Lyme disease possibly being a military biological weapon that accidentally was released.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently this is a popular thought, that there's something about Lyme disease, that Lyme disease doesn't necessarily make sense, how quickly it came from this one area, like this Lyme, Connecticut area, and how rapidly it spread, and how devastating its impact was. And there is apparently, has been some research that's been, well, not some, quite a bit of research is done on various biological weapons and various distribution methods. And one of the thoughts of a lot of these distribution methods is infecting bugs. Infecting bugs with some designer disease and then infecting the population. Like if you release the bugs on this area that you wanted to attack, like at a certain point in time, and you infected giant chunks of the population,
right?
Then you would be able to go back there 10 years later and everybody'd be fucked.
Wow.
Yeah, but this is something that biological diseases, whether it's anthrax, like things along those lines.
Yeah, terrifying.
But they've made those.
Yeah.
Forever. You know, they've had that and people have been aware of that forever.
Yeah.
But the idea of it being something that's in a bug and that can infect you.
Jeez Louise, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Are you trying to make it? Are you trying to make it that I don't go out of my house?
Trying to freak you out, bro.
No, it's weird that it's. I mean, I don't remember being around when we were kids on the East Coast.
It was not around, and I think it took a while for anybody to figure out what the fuck it was.
How about the new mosquitoes that we have?
Yes. Well, there's also
we never had these mosquitoes before.
There's a recent case of a horrible disease breaking out in the East Coast. I think somewhere in Massachusetts. There's some horrible mosquito-borne disease. What does that thing say about the ticks, about Lyme disease? What is the book?
It's called Bitten.
Yes, that's it.
Bitten?
Chris Newby, K-R-I-S, Chris.
Is that a man or a woman?
It's a woman, I believe. Yeah, she discovered circumstantial evidence linking the outbreak of Lyme disease in the 1960s to the U.S. military. Some people say this is bullshit, but some people say it's just a conspiracy theory.
Who's some people? Put up the article so we can see it.
It's the middle of it.
Can you give me spread it out so I can see it? Scroll down. Okay, the DOD, go back up. Stop. The DOD takes extreme care of all of its research programs to ensure the protection of our personnel and the community. What is that? When Smith announced his amendment, okay, that's too much there. It says there's just too much evidence for a reasonable man or woman to just turn the page and say, put on your tinfoil hat, this is just a conspiracy theory, Smith said. And yet people with credentials will say that, which begs the question, why would they even say that? Chris Newby wrote the book Bitten, said she discovered circumstantial evidence linking the outbreak of Lyme disease in the 1960s, that's what you said, from the U.S. military. As proof, Newby cites an interview that she had, stop right there, with Will Bergdorfer, the American scientist who discovered what causes Lyme disease, who told her shortly before his death that he had been instructed to keep his research and a possible cause for Lyme disease a secret. My hypothesis is that the biological weapon they were trying to cover up, that Oh, my hypothesis is that was the biological weapon they were trying to cover up, said Newby, a science writer at the Stanford School of Medicine in California.
I don't believe it. Seems like a lot of malarkey.
She said, I can't connect the dots right now, says Newby, who survived Lyme disease. My theory is that it was a genetically engineered rickettsia bacteria, but as a journalist, I can't prove that. So what is she saying then?
She's just pulling stuff out.
So she wrote a book.
She wrote a book.
Yeah, I ain't buying it. But that's not to say that does worry me more than anything.
I think she's a hoser.
I don't know her personally, but
if you had to guess,
probably. But I think that
that's your bread.
Yeah, I would never give her my bread. That scares me more than anything, though. A plague of some sort. Sure. I always feel like we should be keeping some medicine in the house. Plague
medicine?
Yeah.
Like what kind?
I don't know. Tetracycline?
Is that good for plague?
I don't know.
What the fuck
you
is
gotta
good
take
for
something.
Plague? What the hell could be good for plague?
Depends what the plague is.
Really?
If it's a flu, there's certain things you can take. If it's crazy war bugs, probably nothing. But there's so many people, and it's so gross, and you can see how people just coughing in the airports without covering their mouths. That's gonna happen.
Did you have any striking experience before that?
None. Just the seaside boardwalk. That's about it.
So what was it like going from just straight wrestling to learning how to strike and wrestle together?
It was learning process, you know. Early in my career, I was able to take everybody down in those early fights, but I had some pretty good fights even before UFC. I fought Davidius, Davidius. He was this Ukraine type fighter. I don't know. He fought in WC. He beat some good guys, so he was decent. I was able to take him down. Then I fought Jim Miller, actually, my last fight for UFC. And that was
shit.
Yeah, we had a crazy fight. So, you know, I had good opponents right away, but the striking, you know, it's something that I really liked. I was always into boxing growing up. I was always into fighting. You know, Jersey's, you know, I'm not from the hood or by any means, but everyone fights where I'm from. You know, it's kind of like everyone goes to Seaside, look for fights. That's kind of the nature of it. Yeah, I mean, you hear Joey Diaz talking about it, so, you know.
Jim Miller's a fucking beast.
He is a beast, dude.
I'm so glad he's healthy now because that guy struggled for so long with Lyme disease.
Yeah, my wife has it, actually.
Does she really?
She's been dealing with it since 2007. So,
dude, everybody gets it on the East Coast.
Yeah.
It's crazy how many people have it.
Yep.
And it's just, they say that there was, we did we looked at this map online of all the areas in the East Coast where Lyme disease is prevalent and what percentage of the ticks have it. It's bananas.
Oh, yeah. It's my wife's neurotic with it too because, you know, she's had to go through a bunch of, you know, treatments and whatnot. And
is it still with her right now?
It is. It's not as much, but she's got like a bunch of issues, like autoimmune stuff, I think, you know. And she does the IV treatments, the sunlight therapy. It's like where they take the blood out, run it through UV, then put it back in you.
Oh,
yeah, she's done a lot of that stuff, and she's starting to feel better.
With Jim, I think he changed his diet. I think that was a big one. Just really started eating clean.
Yeah, my wife eats pretty clean. She's a kind of holistic-ish type person.
Yeah, the Lyme disease thing is fucking terrifying because for a long time they were diagnosing it incorrectly. Like people didn't know whether it was Lyme disease, right. And people would come in with all sorts of aches and pains. And if they didn't have that big bullseye mark on them where the tick bit them, the doctor really had no idea what was going on. And some doctors didn't have a lot of experience with it.
Right, I got it when I was young.
Did you?
Yeah, but I'd seen the tick. So I got on medicine right away, and I was fine. But they say if you don't see the tick, and then you just don't know you have it, and then if you don't get on medicine right away, then you're fucked. And it's in you for probably ever. You can even say, like, it's not even the Lyme disease, it's the other diseases that get attached to it.
Yes. Yeah. Well, there's a thing called Morgellons. Have you ever heard of Morgellons?
Yep.
Yeah. Morgellons is a disease that a lot of people think is like a psychological disease. They think that, like, you're imagining things because they would imagine that, like, fibers were growing out of their scabs and they'd scratch themselves like crazy.
Right.
But I had some good insight. We did a television show called Joe Rogan Questions Everything.
Yeah.
And we had some... One of the conversations I had was with a doctor who has Lyme disease. And that's when things got interesting because he was aware of it, not just as a person who has the disease, but also as a doctor. And he said one thing that all these people that have Morgellons have in common is that they all have Lyme disease. And he thinks that Lyme disease is not just one thing, that it's a host of other things that are attached to Lyme disease, like non-identified pathogens.
Yeah.
And that some of them have some sort of neurotoxic effect that changes the way you see things. So he was seeing things like that weren't there. Like he was seeing worms crawling around on his eye that weren't
even there. Wow.
That weren't there.
Jeez.
And he realized, like, oh, okay, this is probably what Morgellons is. Like these people are thinking that things are growing in their skin, but there's nothing there. But it's really because the Lyme disease and all the other toxins and pathogens that come with it are fucking with your neurology.
Yeah.
They're fucking with your brain.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife said brain fog is probably the biggest thing that bothers her, you know. And she went through a period where she was always tired. And it's crazy because my wife, you would never guess it because she's super high energy. She works out every day, you know.
Just pushes through it.
Yeah, pushes through it. But it's definitely something she has to constantly treat.
You remember when people had chronic fatigue syndrome?
Yeah.
People would always talk. Where'd that go?
Yeah, I know.
Isn't that like a thing that everybody always had?
But
like,
is an excuse? Is that excuse? Like a bullshit thing? I don't know.
See, that's you. That's these mentally tough guys.
Yeah,
like, come on, fuck. How do I feel? I feel good. Let's go.
That's it. I feel good. You know, I mean, my wife. It's shit's expensive too. All these damn treatments.
Oh yeah.
You know? And
well, Marcus Davis, all of his UFC money he spent treating his wife for Lyme disease.
Wow. Yeah.
He wound up. He's a prison guard now.
Is he really?
Somewhere. Yeah.
Wow.
I think he's still doing that. You know, he's good buddies with Delagrate.
Yeah.
Delagrate was keeping me posted on him, but he wound up like his wife got it real bad. I think he spent more than $250,000.
Yeah,
just treating her.
Not that much. I mean, unless my wife's not telling me, but
it's fucking bad. My friend Steve Ranella, he and his son got it, and the doctors didn't recognize it. The doctors, he was like, I think it might be Lyme disease. The doctors didn't think so. Then his son started getting Bell's palsy. So half his face, and his son was little. I think he was like 4 or 5. Half his face was going numb.
Yeah, it happened to my wife, actually. She had Bell's palsy to one time. Yeah. I think she got a flu shot, she said, and then came home, she got Bell's palsy.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's a fucking creepy disease, man.
It is.
Because no one seems to know what to do with it. And, you know, they had a vaccine for a little while, but the problem with the vaccine was people were, and this is including my manager's dad, took the vaccine and got Lyme disease from the vaccine.
I keep hearing this with vaccines or even flu shot. Like,
I've heard
people
that
get the flu shot and they get the flu. You know,
I've heard that people get sick when they get the flu shot. But then I've talked to people that are vaccine people, and they're like, "No, you probably were already getting the flu, and the flu shot that you got was the wrong one for whatever flu was in the area."
Well, I also heard too they give you the strain from last year, and then there's the new strain this year, so it's not even really helping you.
Well, I think there's multiple strains each year, and I think they're basically just hedging their bets.
Right? They're guessing. Yeah.
I don't take flu shots.
No, hell no.
Yeah, but I think they do work if you get lucky.
Yeah,
and you get the right one.
I'm not too lucky. I don't know.
I mean, I believe in vaccines for sure, but I don't think that it always works in the flu shot case. I'm not sure because like sometimes they just get it wrong. Like they have the wrong strain.
Right.
What do we know? What do we?
No, I know it's
flu
a
shots?
Fucking touchy subject anyway.
Two morons talking about flu shots.
Exactly.
But it's
with the Lyme disease. My wife, there's a conspiracy theory that's the government put that out in the wild.
Well, there was a conspiracy theory that there was actually look this up, Jamie, because there was actually something about this they were talking about recently, where they were looking in. They were investigating the idea that Lyme disease was a biological warfare weapon that accidentally got released. But this was through like legitimate channels they were investigating this. It wasn't like some fucking tinfoil hat job.
They released it on the East Coast, I guess, right? Not where they wanted to release it.
Well, I think it got out. I think the idea is that somehow or another this disease had accidentally escaped their labs or while they were in the middle of treating people.
Is a tick the only way you can get Lyme disease?
I believe so, yeah. And it's the ticks. I think it's deer ticks. I think it's places that have a high population of deer, also have a high population of these ticks. And then when people get it, it's less, you know, most of them don't realize they have it until it's too late.
Yeah.
So you don't realize you have it, and then you miss the early rounds of antibiotics, which can knock it out. And then you get this chronic state like Jim Miller has and your wife has. And my buddy Steve Ranella that had it, he was fucked up I mean, bad for at least 6 months. When I saw him, he looked like he had lost, and he's a slim guy, but he looked like he had lost 20 or 30 pounds. And he was just said he'd just been dealing with the Lyme disease, and it just killed him. I mean, not killed him, but just really diminished his body. Yeah, it's a weird disease, man, because you can't find anybody who doesn't know anybody who has it when you're on the East Coast. Everybody knows a brother or a cousin or a wife. Someone has it.
It's crazy. I mean, I love running the woods and trails, but like in the summertime, it's like, man, I'm so nervous to get ticks. Or my kids, I don't want my kids going out in it.
Well, I think it takes 24 hours for it to set in. So like once you do come back, if you have a tick on, you just have to remove it immediately.
Yeah, that's what we do. Every time we go in the woods, tick checks.
How do you get them off you though? What if it's like in the middle of your back and you're by yourself?
Yeah, I guess you're like one of those back scratchers or something.
Like, here it is. Was Lyme disease created as a bioweapon? Is this a legit website?
It's How Stuff Works. So it's not unlegit. But,
that's legit. How Stuff Works is very legit.
I just sort of read through the whole article. It's sort of unproven, but there are some people, I believe, that think that this is a thing. It just would be very hard to do, is what the end of the article says.
Ticks as weapons issue made headlines back in July 2019 thanks to the U.S. House of Representatives. Chris Smith, New Jersey, Republican New Jersey, who introduced legislation directing the Department of Defense to review claims that the Pentagon researched tick-based bioweapons in the mid-20th century. The amendment passed. Smith said he was inspired by a number of books and articles suggesting that significant research had been done in the U.S. government facilities, including Fort Detrick, Maryland, and Plum Island, New York, to turn ticks and other insects into bioweapons. Imagine if those cunts created a fucking disease and now everyone on the East Coast has it.
What the fuck?
Because it's mostly out there. That's what's fucked up.
Yeah, it is. It is. Lyme, isn't Lyme a place in Connecticut?
Yes. Yeah. Is that why they named it Lyme disease? I mean, I think that's why they named it that. Yeah. Have you heard of the Rocky Mountain tick?
Yeah, isn't that kind of the West Coast version of?
Well, it's Texas. It's I think or the Lone Star tick. That's
different.
The Lone Star one.
It makes you not like meat or something.
Yes, alpha galactose. It does something. I think that's the word. It makes you allergic to meat.
Allergic to meat. Wow.
Yeah. So you literally go the rest of your life and you can't eat meat. You have to eat like chicken and fish.
Shoot me.
Like, what is that?
Yeah, the first cases of it were there in 1975.
Yeah, the goddamn government. They're creating bioweapons. I'm not surprised.
No.
I talked to the Soviet Union guy when I was doing that television show, and he was saying that they had all sorts of bioweapons that they were developing over there.
Gotta be, right?
Giant pits filled with anthrax.
Are there ticks in other countries? Or Lyme disease in other countries?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. That would like sort of explain a lot.
While we're in Conspiracyville, have you seen the coronavirus stuff?
Yeah. There's conspiracies about it?
Yeah.
What's a conspiracy?
There's like a level 4 bioweapon facility opened in Wuhan.
Wow.
Not too long ago. And the suggestions are online. I don't know. I'm not saying it. The suggestions are online. Something might have leaked just like this.
Have you consulted with Sam Tripoli or Eddie Bravo?
I have seen tweets. I'll just say I've seen tweets.
From who? From Sam or Eddie?
I think Sam's retweeted some stuff. So.
Oh, of course he has.
But I've seen other stuff online too.
Well, I mean,
I think whatever news is out there, there's always some conspiracy theory that goes with it, right?
You know? And so now he's in an Alzheimer's home. But yeah, that's the part about scary about turning 50. But he's like in there nailing all these chicks. I mean, we go in there and he's like making out with some girl with a nasal cannula on and carrying her oxygen bottle, and he's convinced that they've been married for a few years.
I have a bit in my act about the outbreak of STDs in nursing homes. It's out of control because of Viagra.
Oh, it's not only just that. These people. I mean, my dad has really advanced Alzheimer's, and he knows that he misses his Mustang. I took all his bicycles away, and I need to get laid. That's it. I mean, and he's in there just running around. We got called, my sister and I take care of my dad in that manner, and so we get called to the home, almost like being called to the principal's office as a parent. And they're like, "Your dad's literally in here fucking everybody." Like,
I mean, I literally had the feeling of getting janked in there to the principal's office, like, your kid's a fuck up. Your dad's fucking everyone.
But you had to be proud.
Oh, heck yeah. I'm like, what does he care? What do y'all care?
Why do you care? That's my point. That's what I say about him in my acts. Like, come on, man. How do you want these people to die out? Want their heart to stop when they're playing bingo? Come on. Just have a good time. Just don't let them hurt each other.
Well, see, I'm in the healthcare business also, home healthcare, and
you are.
And so I know. Yeah, I've got a lot of different ventures. But
what are you in? How are you in the home healthcare business?
Home healthcare with my wife. We 16, 17 years, maybe longer. So in the state of Texas, it's probably the second or third largest home healthcare. But I'm talking real home healthcare. Like, you got to get shots, you got to get therapy. These are RNs that are going in. They're not people going to bathe grandma.
So, what is your business? You hire a bunch of nurses to take care of people that are at home?
Yeah, it's prescribed like through Medicare or insurance or whatever, to where maybe somebody gets a knee or a shoulder replacement, or maybe it's a injury or cancer or what have you. And so it's a very rewarding business. We probably have 2,500, 3,000 patients at any given time.
That's
all
amazing.
around the state of Texas.
That's amazing.
And so it's a fun business to be in, and that you're really getting to help people, but at the same time, this shit out there is crazy. These guys they're getting after it. You go into the nursing home and it's like, damn, dude, this 78-year-old dude has had more ass than I had in the last week. Like,
they don't have anything else to do.
Nothing.
Yeah, why not? Why not? My thought is, why not?
Well, I bought my dad, he's got his room that's kind of like an apartment or whatever, and I bought him stripper sheets. Not stripper sheets, but Twister sheets with all the red and blue and green tops on it. And I hung the board thing up behind his bed. I'm like, Dad, if you're getting after it, you might as well have fun. I mean, fuck bingo or freaking whatever.
So because he has Alzheimer's, does he remember when he gets after it?
I think it's that he's just so focused on it. He was, what would you call him, a Casanova, or my dad got some serious ass my whole life. I mean, as a teenager, I was like, God damn, my dad's like banging everything.
Well, I guess when your wife leaves you with kids when you're young, you just realize, okay, forget about this long-term shit.
Yeah.
Let's just enjoy the moment.
Yeah, but I mean, my dad was straight up product of the 60s and 70s, so he like would dye his hair blonde and his eyebrows blonde and shit, and walk around with them looking like Matthew McConaughey from Dazed and Confused. And,
all right.
Driving his Mustang. He'd come pick me up from school.
What kind of Mustang did you have?
Back then, it was like a 72 fastback, red and black with a 4-speed, and he'd be hammering it, and I'm like, 5, 6 years old. I'd fall on the floor because nobody wore a freaking seatbelt back then.
Right.
And his idea of after-school care was the skating rink, because he knew that thing would be open till 9. So drop us off. I'm at the skating rink eating a 99-cent corn dog meal, and he'd come pick us up, usually around 10 or 11, with some irate skating rink owner sitting there pissed off. He's like,
Oh, wow.
He was a badass, though. Or is a badass still. I mean, he's nailing chicks in a freaking nursing home. Come on.
It's so weird when you become an adult, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
When you think about, round 4.
Well,
here we go.
We got to drink one for Raymond Rawlings.
For sure. Raymond Rawlings.
Raymond Miller Rawlings. Baddest motherfucker that ever lived.
Salute.
For sure. I mean, I guarantee you he got more ass than you and I did this whole week.
I believe it.
He's freaking probably banging one right now.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, what's that noise in the back? Sounds like my son. Is he on the TV?
Well, plus, the goal is, or the bonus, rather, is that they can't get pregnant.
Well, you got that.
Yeah, I mean, it's over.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's not happening. But you can still get some diseases and stuff.
Yes.
And they do.
Yes, they do. But the thing is, where are they getting them?
Well, somebody had it, and then the next thing you know, all 100 people in that building have done it.
Right, but did they have it already? Or are they getting it from the building?
No, they had it already.
They had it already. So are you dealing with herpes, or are you dealing with, like, the real weird ones, like syphilis and gonorrhea and shit? The syphilis and gonorrhea is like, hey, you got to treat this. Where are you getting this?
Oh, no, it's prevalent. It's everything.
Right, but the question is, like, are they getting it from outside sources?
Maybe. I mean, who knows? You had that unfortunate lady that just had the baby, that's been invalid for 20-something years.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's a dark
somebody knocked her up, and I'm
between
like,
2007 and 2011, chlamydia infections amongst Americans 65 and over increased by 31%, and syphilis by 52%. Yeah, but the problem with that is 52%. All right, okay. Let's say there's 100 cases, and then the next year there's 150. All right. That's 52%.
No,
that's not that big.
Tens of thousands, hundreds
of
millions
thousands.
of people. Yeah,
millions of people in nursing
hundreds
homes.
of thousands. My dad's probably in there going, "Come on, baby, I'm going to buy you some
I don't like
chlamydias."
percent, though. I don't like the number percent because if there's 4 people and then the next year there's 6, that's 50% increase. You know what I'm saying? I don't like numbers like that because you could make, oh my God, it's an epidemic. I want numbers like human beings.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it's out there on the web, but like I said, my dad's probably thinks chlamydia is a flower. He's giving this girl, I'm going to get you some chlamydias and we're going to have a good time.
Yeah, there's no condoms in nursing homes, you know? Here we
go.
Here.
We got a worse one.
43,000 reported cases of chlamydia among people 45 and older. Okay, but I'm 45 and older. That's normal. 45 and older, people are walking around, meeting new people.
I wouldn't think 43,000 seems like a very low number.
It's super low. That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't like these percentage numbers. Gonorrhea from doing this podcast all these years, I understand when people can make things seem greater than they really are. Go back to that, Jamie.
Do you have your AARP card?
No, but someone sent one to us, to me and Ari, at the Comedy Store. But I think that was some asshole.
43,000 sounds low.
Yeah, primary and secondary syphilis, 5,650 cases were reported in this age group. But that age group, 45, the thing about 45 and older is 45-year-old people in 2019, it's not like 45-year-old people in the 60s.
Absolutely.
These animals are out there fucking hitting the gym and doing squats and flying to Thailand.
They're probably getting it from the sweat on the gym bench.
What are your thoughts on, if you have any, about these startups that are actually taking the blood of young people and injecting it into the bodies of older folks?
So I don't think there's a scientific reason to say it won't work. And the scientists who are involved are some of my great colleagues, very smart people.
Have you ever done it?
No. No, it's a bit extreme for me, but I think it could work.
Right.
It's just a little bit out there for me. But what they're going to do, what they're doing actually is treating people with neurological disorders. A lot of these startups, I'm involved in probably 15 startups right now. What we're trying to do is to treat diseases of aging and even rare childhood diseases because you can't treat it aging as a business model. There is no disease called aging yet.
Right.
But anyway, getting back to the science, I think that it's based on solid science. But the future is I think a better way to go about this is to find what the actual molecules are in the blood and just make those. Don't give the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah. When you've said this twice, you think aging is a disease or maybe perhaps should be treated as a disease or classified?
Oh, I absolutely think aging should be classified as a disease. We should think of it as a disease. I mean, why shouldn't we? Everything else that goes on in the body over time that's bad for us is considered a disease. Do you know why aging isn't considered a disease?
Because it happens to everybody?
Exactly. That's the only reason. Well, it happens to most people, 90% of people in the developed world. But why is that a reason to say, oh, it's natural, we should just deal with it? We used to say that about cancer, and we used to say that about dying from an infection.
When you say it happens to 90% of the people in the developed world, what happens to the other 10? They die?
Hit by a bus, I guess.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. So they die young.
Yeah.
Okay. Just clarifying. Yeah, I agree. I mean, dis-ease. It's a problem, right? Aging's a problem. I saw an old gentleman yesterday, and it was painful just to watch this poor guy walk. Hunched over and just struggling to move at an incredibly slow pace. That seems like a person with a disease.
Well, it is. And imagine if we were on a planet now, or an island where everybody lives 300 years, and we'd show up, and you and I in our midlife. We're starting to look old already. They're going to look at us and say, what is wrong with you guys? We need to treat you urgently. We need to call this a new type of syndrome.
Right.
And it's only because we all tend to go through this that we think it's acceptable. But I would argue it's the biggest threat to the healthcare system. It's the biggest threat to the world's economy, actually, is the inability of us to treat people in their old age and keep them healthy.
Now, some people look at it a different way, and their consideration is that there's an overpopulation problem as it is. And folks like you want to walk around living to be 300 years old, have a gang of kids, you could create a mess.
Right. Well, I have 3 kids, but that's enough. That's more than I was going to have. But yeah, you have to do the math though. How much would the population grow? And I'm actually working with a number of people to try and calculate this. A couple of economists in London that we're working on. So this is really a problem. I agree with you that if this comes, and I would actually say when this comes.
When this comes.
It's coming. There's dozens of companies working on drugs. The science is here. So let's say it's coming anyway. So we have to deal with this. How are we going to deal with it? Well, let's first of all understand what the future looks like. We can't look backwards. All right, because no one's ever invented this stuff before. So we have to look forwards. What's the world look like? In terms of population, it's not as bad as you might think. If you stopped aging today and everybody just went on forever, the population growth rate would be less than the rate of immigration. Now, that can't go on forever, of course. But what we find is as people are healthier, especially in developing nations, they have fewer kids. So the calculation shows that it would eventually taper off. So the human population will taper off about 9 to 10 billion people and then stay there. And that population will be the happiest, healthiest people in the world.
Now, how do they predict that? Because I was having this conversation with someone the other day that as people become more affluent and society becomes more urban, people will have less and less children and the population will stabilize. Is that the theory behind this?
Right. Well, actually, education is a major part of that as well. Yeah, women's education is the main thing. But also just being healthier lifts the wealth of a nation.
And by women's education, do you mean extended education so that they pursue careers? Is that the idea? Or is it, I mean, obviously most people understand how babies are made. Like where's the education contributing to a lower population?
Well, so my understanding is that the first thing you do if you educate young women is that they can make choices for themselves and they're not just subjugated. Most men would like to have more children.
So you're thinking of like third world and...
Right, the real developing world. But that's where the population is a real problem. In Europe, they actually are struggling to keep up with their population. They've got an aging tsunami, so to speak. Same with Japan. The average farmer in Japan is 65 years old. They've got a real problem. China's about to head that way too. And that's going to drag the economy of the planet down. And it's going to be a real problem. We're going to waste so much money on keeping older people alive for the last 10, 20 years of their life with dementia, frailty. That could be trillions of dollars. Just $50 trillion just in this country alone that could be spent on figuring out how to solve global warming, better education, the environment, saving the 1/3 of species that are becoming threatened. That's why I think tackling aging isn't a selfish act. It's probably the most generous act that I could give the planet.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. Staph infections.
Exactly. So
you'll be able to stop it in its tracks before it gets systemic.
Right. Spray this stuff on a cruise line for the virus, norovirus. Even if it turns out to be that safe, why not just wipe down schools?
Oh, because I always worry about the negative aspect. Like, what's going to happen? Like, what's going to be the blowback, right? Like, antibiotics is what's created medicine-resistant antibiotic staph infections, right?
Right. Your mind always jumps to the worst possible
That's
scenario.
me, bro.
Love it. We'd make a good team. So I'm the
like
optimist.
A buddy cop movie?
Yeah, let's do it. So we've tested, does it induce antibiotic resistance? And so far, it's negative.
Okay, interesting.
Oh, another thing I'll tell you. So I work with a company that detects organisms. So we want to detect if there's another virus coming across the planet. So how do you do that quickly? And how do you do it if you don't know what you're looking for? So we can take a drop of blood or a swab off a table, and we can see all the organisms that are there. We can do your microbiome, but that's easy. We can do so a drop of blood will tell you all the bacteria and viruses in there, and it'll tell you how to kill it, which is great for healthcare because right now microbiology labs, I've worked in one. I used to swab urine and poop on plates. It was very glamorous. That's how it's still done. That's That's 19th century, early 20th century technology. Grow it on a plate, wait a few days, see what grows. But that's useless for diseases like viruses and Lyme disease. Lyme disease, the one from ticks in your spine. My daughter got Lyme disease, and she was really sick. She was losing her eyesight. It was serious. It got into her brain, and the hospital wouldn't give her the antibiotic because the tests weren't quick enough, and they wouldn't give her the antibiotic until the tests were positive for insurance reasons. And I said, just give me the DNA of my daughter, the spinal fluid. I'll test it. They wouldn't do that. So I was furious. So I spun out a company out of my lab with some very smart bioinformaticians, mathematicians, software engineers. We built supercomputers to be able to do this. Teamed up with a guy in Stanford, my friend, I mentioned him, Carlos Bustamante. He's the guy that did, maybe I shouldn't, but he did a famous person's genome recently. He's been trained on mummies, and he did Kennewick Man. And so this technology can be teamed up with what I've done to be able to get rid of all the human DNA out of a blood sample, leave the viruses, leave the bacteria, and then run that through a supercomputer, all the DNA, and tell you within probably seconds, eventually, what it is. So my daughter would have a diagnosis within, eventually it'll be just 10 minutes instead of waiting a week.
Wow. Lyme disease is terrifying. There are so many people that are infected with it, and I know personally maybe 10 people that have it, and a couple that have had significant issues with it that have lasted for years. I know a guy who was hospitalized for a full year on it.
It's really bad, and it can hide as well. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And it wrecks joints. And a lot of countries actually deny that they have Lyme disease. Australia's a good example. People are getting what seems to be Lyme disease, and no one knows if it is or not. Give those samples to us. We'll tell you what's in there.
Well, it seems to be very difficult with certain doctors for them to tell if they don't see that bullseye infection.
Exactly. So our daughter, Natalie, our middle daughter, she didn't have a bullseye. She had nothing. The first thing we knew.
Explain the bullseye to people.
Oh, so it's inflammation around the bite of the tick.
Right.
And
so there's the actual bite, and then there's a circle on the outside of it. And for whatever reason, this occurs with Lyme disease, but oftentimes goes away quickly. So if you bring a person in and they have the Lyme disease, but they don't have that bullseye anymore, which is what happened to my friend Steve's son. He tried to tell them that it was Lyme disease. The doctors were incredulous. They didn't believe him. And it took till the kid had Bell's palsy in his face.
Exactly. That's what happened in our family. It's crazy. And so I was bitten by a tick last year, right behind the knee. And it didn't form a bullseye. Maybe I didn't give it time, but it definitely was a very painful thing. I could tell that there was something going on. It was really itchy. And I went to the pharmacy and I said, can I have the antibiotic? It's probably costs a few dollars for the antibiotic. And they said, no, we won't give it to you till we see a bullseye. And you need to bring the tick in. Well, I didn't bring the tick with me. So again, I'm the doctors' and nurses' worst nightmare. I wouldn't leave until they gave me the antibiotic. And I'm glad, because I don't want to wait a week.
Did they eventually give it to you?
They did. I wasn't going to leave until I got it. But I don't want to wait a week. I'm starting to lose my
Did you get upset with them? You say, listen, you dumb motherfuckers. I'm super smart. I work with genes.
No, not that occasion. It's tempting. You can always say, hey, I'm a professor at Harvard. And then they probably just really kick you out.
Yeah. What do you say? I mean, how long did it take before they listened to you?
So I went through it. Basically, I started spouting biology so that they knew that I knew something about it. It was about 15 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad. Thank God you knew what to say. I'd be there for days. Like, bro, trust me.
Right. Let me draw you a picture of the tick.
Yeah, I mean, I would just think they'd want to hand that stuff out quick with so many people getting it. It's so common. Yeah. I mean, we looked at a map recently on the podcast of Lyme disease infections across the East Coast. And the East Coast of the United States, obviously that's where you live, is just a hotbed. It's crazy. It's everywhere.
Well, it is. And I've got friends on Cape Cod where it's really prevalent.
Really bad.
So bad that they keep the antibiotic in their kitchen drawer.
Jesus. And if you catch it quick enough, does it stop it in its tracks?
Yeah.
So the real problem is when it gets into your bloodstream and you don't treat it long enough or quick enough.
Exactly. And so my daughter needed what's called a PICC line, which is delivery of the antibiotic straight into the heart.
Oh,
because they left it too long.
God, I'd want to kill them.
And she didn't have a ring of inflammation.
But you knew.
I didn't. I thought it was meningitis bacteria in the brain or something.
Oh,
or
God.
Leukemia was the other possibility.
Those dirty fucking bugs. What can be done to somehow or another eradicate those things?
Oh, so again, one of my friends, got a few friends here, she was working at MIT and she's developed a way using the CRISPR system to kill these, as you say, damn little fuckers. And so there is possibly going to be the first test of releasing a modified organism, the Lyme organism, to kill them off.
Wow. And you know that's going to cause some new superbug. It's going to kill everybody. It's going to be like that Brad Pitt movie, the zombie one, World War Z.
Might be, but on the other hand, we might all be saved from Lyme disease.
Yeah, I would like that. That would be great. I mean, where did Lyme disease come from? There was some conspiracy theory website that was thinking that Lyme disease was some sort of a biological weapon.
That's probably bullshit.
I'm sure. But it came out, it was in Lyme, Connecticut, right? Wasn't that one of the first cases?
Yeah.
So that's close enough to Harvard, just to stayed away.
I thought you said Russians were behind it.
Oh, no, I said conspiracy theory. I didn't say it was Russians, but it was a biological weapon. It's just an awful thing. And now there's I'm sure you're aware of the Lone Star tick that gives people that alpha-gal disease, the one that makes you allergic to red meat. Mm-hmm. Just, I mean, where was that before? It's crazy to see these things morphing. And
well, they're morphing, and there are a lot of bugs we don't know. Somebody just published a few days ago that they took surveys of the microbiome on the skin, mouth, gut, across the planet, different races, different foods, geography, and they have 100,000 different organisms living on humanity. And most of them are unknown. That's crazy, right?
Right, and all they have to do is just morph a little bit one way or the other way, and all of a sudden people are dropping like flies.
Yeah, and what's interesting is on the skin and in the gut of people in India is very different than what we have. And the different smells. They probably think we smell bad. But I know this because
they're wrong.
Yeah, right. 'Cause yeah, I smell like Old Spice. But these wounds, they're actually, if you want to kill the bacteria in a wound, they're different in the wounds of people in India than they are over here in the US.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
The thing I wanted to maybe discuss is the balance that needs to be talked about. And this is where I would have taken the conversation from earlier about the media.
How do you feel about Sweden, the way Sweden's handling it? Because we're talking about balance. Sweden has got a very different approach to it. Their approach is essentially, listen, old people, vulnerable people, please take care of yourself. Stay home. They'll provide assistance. They'll get you food. They'll do whatever they get to you. But people that are healthy, they want them to go out and live their lives. They don't want the restaurants to shut down, the pubs to shut down. This is a disease that, it's ravaged people of all nationalities and all age and demographic groups, but their idea is take care of your health, be careful, but let's get society back on its feet again. And they're widely criticized by that, and I would love to hear what you think.
Well, I think the jury's still out on whether that's a good strategy or not. There's three different strategies, okay? And there's a Harvard white paper that delineates these pretty well. I spoke with one of the professors from the Center of Ethics that was an author of this. And you can describe these three strategies in the following way. One they call freeze in place, which is basically what we're doing right now. It's what most countries are doing, a hardcore quarantine. Of course, that's different depending on what part of the country you're in. The second, well, let me jump to the third one. The third one would just be surrender. Okay, let it happen. We'll deal with it as we go, but we're not keeping anybody at home. That's effectively what Sweden is doing. The second option would be sort of a mix of the two, which I think will end up being the American option, or it better well should be, where we have a defined period where we remain in place, but then we confront the enemy. And like I said, we're in a tactical retreat right now, but at a certain point, we actually have to come back out swinging, and we need to be prepared to do it. Sweden took on the third approach, which is like, basically, they think they can deal with it, and we're going to see. Now, their cases are jumping up pretty dramatically. I don't know how much they'll continue jumping up, the Swedes are also very good at culturally following the rules. You know, like Americans don't like a lot of rules. So the Swedes will stop at a red light at 2 a.m. even though there's like nobody around. Okay, same with people in Switzerland. Okay, we have deeper cultural differences. I think their social cohesion and their ability to follow rules, kind of like the Koreans, is different than our culture, where we are just way more individualistic and we're going to do whatever the hell we want. If we want a flamethrower in our office, we're going to have a flamethrower in our office. And like, don't tell me I can't have it, right? I mean, you can relate to that.
I have a flamethrower right behind me.
It's a solid flamethrower. I'm jealous. Like I don't have a flamethrower, but I have a lot of guns, and
they're better. Guns are better.
Yeah, it depends on the situation.
No, they're always better, unless you want to start a fire.
Well, that's what I mean.
That's the only situation.
Sometimes the situation is you just want to start a fire.
Unless you're in the movie Alien.
Yeah, that means, you know, each to their. The point is you need a diversity of weaponry. That's the truth.
Right.
And so okay. So those are the three options. I think the jury's still out on if it works for Sweden or not. I think it can work, and I would like to see us move to that rather quickly. Now we need to be careful about how we do it, but I'm very concerned about these indefinite extension of the timelines of stay in place. I think we have to start having reasonable conversations about the costs of that. And the costs are a lot more than just dollar signs. The costs are a hell of a lot more than just people's 401ks tanking. The costs are actually people's lives also, whether it's mental health or suicides or divorces or putting off all of these procedures that we're just putting a freeze on. So like, and I have a lot of problem with this. I mean, in places like Houston, our hospitals are not overwhelmed. They're like 50% capacity still because we're just not getting that many more cases. But
why do you think that is? Why do you think Texas is less prone to this?
Well, I guess I'll answer that question by stating why I think New York is the way it is and New Orleans is the way it is. New York is the way it is because it's a giant city with enormous density. It's the densest city in the country by far. It's also the most likely place that a lot of international travelers were coming in and out of. And so I think it's safe to say there was multiple hotspots that occurred within New York City, and then it spread wildly because people ride subways and elevators. I mean, it's not like Los Angeles. It's not like Houston where we take a car everywhere, no matter what. There's natural social distancing that already occurs. In New Orleans, well, they had Mardi Gras. I mean, they had Mardi Gras. There's explanations behind these things. And I do worry sometimes that our modeling is using these numbers in the wrong ways and not taking enough into the fact that we have very different lifestyles in different parts of the country, and also take into account that we can target certain solutions. And so regarding the Harvard white paper that says the second solution is mobilize and transition, once you've slowed the spread by doing what we're doing, and again, I'm not against doing what we're doing, I just think we need to stick to the timelines and maybe make those timelines sooner than later, and then come out and fight. And what does fighting mean? Well, while we're in wait, we're ramping up production of protective gear. We're ramping up production of ventilators. Again, our system is amazing. We're going to be producing by, I think, next week or so, up to 7,000 new ventilators a week. We haven't run out of ventilators. I went through the numbers before when we were talking about socialized medicine. Like, one of the benefits of our system is we are actually way better prepared than people realize. Now, we have a big lack of PPE. There's a lot of reasons for that, and I can go into. One reason is that China was stopping export from 3M from going to China to the rest of the world back in January and February. All right, this just came out in an article that was written and was confirmed by 3M and a lot of people in government. They were preventing the export because 3M produces a lot of it in China. And they were preventing those exports because they wanted to hoard the supplies. And then they act like the good guy and go around the world giving it out. I mean, China we're going to have to really look at our supply chains and our relationship with China after this. But that's one of the reasons we didn't have the proper amount of PPE. It also depends on the hospital. Again, like, there is some accountability that has to take place with specific hospitals in specific cities and why they didn't prepare. What I've noticed as of late is this strange belief that the president is everybody's micromanaging boss. And that's just not how our system works, nor should it. And there has to be some level of accountability at the local and state level, too. Again, I just got off the phone with some of the doctors here at the Texas Medical Center, and I'm like, how are you guys on PPE? And they're like, we have so much PPE because we're used to disasters here and we prepare. And so they're just not worried about it. We've set up the supply chains in advance. Like there has to be, we have to work together. There's what I've noticed in all the finger pointing, and a lot of it's just political opportunism. I don't know if you put these people up to a lie detector test, I wonder if they really think it would be the president's fault that this happened. Like, I don't think they could pass a lie detector test. You know, I think it's a lot of political theatrics. But in any case, it gets us away from the right way to look at our system, which is local and state government are our managers. They manage on those smaller levels. Like if California wants to try a single payer healthcare system, let's see it work in California or a smaller state, and then let's scale it. Hell, let's see if it works in a city, and then let's scale it. You know, there's a reason federalism is the way it is, and it's hard to compare us to different countries in so many ways because these countries are like the size of our city. You know, like LA is bigger than so many countries around the world. Like the scale matters to a huge extent. And it's like socialism works if you've got maybe like 50 or 60 people because you can hold each other accountable. There's a little bit easier maintenance. As you scale it out, you just can't, right? That's why co-ops exist in this country. And like Bernie Sanders lived on one. You can make it work if you can literally see everybody all the time. It's like a family. A family unit is a socialist unit. To each their own, to each their need, to each their ability. When you scale things out, it dramatically changes things. And we have to remember that as it pertains to dealing with the pandemic and dealing with public policy as well. The point I was making about the media a second ago, one of the problems, it's not just that they're not informing people correctly, which we discussed earlier. The other problem is that they're preventing us from having the right discussions. Because we do have to have this discussion that we're talking about right now, which is how do we responsibly move into a system where we're simultaneously combating the pandemic, but also reopening our economy. And we have to have that. And the natural reaction from disingenuous people is, oh, well, how many lives is it worth to save a job? And I'm like, okay, that's not the right question. It's a very dishonest question. And, you know, first of all, it assumes that somebody going back to work will actually cost a life. You can't prove that. I mean, if we're going to play this dishonest game of counterfactuals, but also it misses the point. You know, we live in a world where we take risks and we have to take those risks and then mitigate those risks accordingly. And we can better mitigate risk when we better understand what we're dealing with and when we're better prepared. And those are the two things we have to do over the next month is get better prepared. And the answer there is test more people, especially test people with antibodies so that we can see who's actually immune and we can give them like a certificate or something that they can go do whatever they want. Getting more ICU beds where they might be needed, getting more ventilators, getting more PPE. So that's the preparedness side. And on the other side, we risk mitigate. It's just like, you know, like you explained in Sweden, let's keep sick and vulnerable people away. Let's target our efforts a little bit better. Let's take a more vertical approach as opposed to a horizontal approach. We can do this. We can do this if we give each other the grace and the space to do it instead of like this bad faith finger pointing of like, oh, you're just going to kill people and you don't even care. Well, it's like that's a terrible way to think about it. I mean, I could moralize this situation and say, well, I'll save 30,000 lives this year because I'm not going to let anybody drive. And I am a better person than you because you have the blood of 30,000 people on your hands because you want people driving.
That's a great example.
I'm the moral one.
That is a great example.
I'm the moral one.
Yeah, and that's
it
I'm
seems
worried
like a
about
cheap
that.
analogy, but it's not.
It's not at all. No, you're absolutely right, and I'm worried about that when we do go back. I'm worried about that finger pointing. I really am because I think it's just going to muddy the waters, and I'm also worried about it being used as political opportunism. Kids died a lot back then.
Yeah.
They died from injury and sickness, and a lot of people died from sickness. You know, no vaccines.
Right.
When you're just at the mercy. And then also, it's the beginning of agriculture. So all these diseases are emerging that we don't have immune systems for because they're being jumped from, like, they're jumping from pigs to people. They're jumping from chickens and birds to people. That's where the source of most of these pandemic diseases come from. It comes from large-scale agriculture.
Yeah.
Those funky pigs all tucked together in these little cages. That doesn't come for free.
Yeah.
Like there's some demons are being brewed in that mix.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like this what was the source of the Spanish flu, which I think was the most deadly epidemic in US history?
Oh, is that right? It was international too, wasn't it?
It was international for sure. I think for sure it was the most deadly epidemic in the U.S. Yeah, but I think it came. I don't think it came from Spain. I want to say it came from somewhere around Virginia. Is that bullshit? This is going to take time.
Probably New Jersey.
I feel like it came from some sort of farm situation.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I feel like I'm guessing that.
I'm surprised there's not more of that now, because you see some of these like pig farms and they have lakes.
Oh,
there are lakes of waste.
Have you seen the drone footage? Is that what we're talking about?
No.
Oh my God. Some guy flew it, because they have these ag-gag laws, which apparently one of them just got shot down. Somebody sent me an email that when maybe it was Idaho or Iowa, one of those places, one of those I states, that the ag-gag laws got shut down. The ag-gag laws are, say if you were working in a slaughterhouse and you saw horrific conditions, you got your cell phone out, you filmed it, you could get prosecuted. You would go to jail. You could be sued.
Because of Food Inc. and all those documentaries that came out.
Well, I think those ag-gag laws existed as soon as they figured out that people could film things.
Yeah.
Because a few people released videos of her. And look, those ag-gag laws kept people from talking about a lot of creepy shit like this video.
Yeah.
If you see this video, this guy decided, since no one's going to give him access, to film the place openly. So he's going to fly over it. So he flew over it with a drone.
So this is the Spanish flu thing.
Okay. For many years, medical historians and epidemiologists hypothesized that the outbreak could have started in a British Army base in Étaples, France, or at Fort Riley in Kansas, where the first American cases of the new strain of flu were recorded in March of 1918. More recently, experts have proposed a third hypothesis. The Spanish flu originated somewhere in northern China in late 1917 and swiftly moved to Eastern Europe. Within the 140,000 Chinese laborers and the French and British governments recruited to perform manual labor to free up the troops for wartime duty. Wow.
Yeah, I think more people died of that than died in World War I.
I think so.
50 million people were killed because of this.
Damn.
Whoa.
Just think about corpse disposal of 50 million people.
Look at it claiming. Look at this. It says claiming more lives in a single year than either the First World War or the 4-year-long Black Death bubonic plague outbreak that swept Europe and Asia in the Middle Ages.
Damn.
And this is one that, for whatever reason, people talk about the plague. They talk about the bubonic plague, like everyone's heard, but no one talks about the Spanish flu. Like that's a rare. It doesn't get brought up that often. If you see this number of people dying, 50 million
50
people
million.
in a year. In a year, man.
People talk about how bad the world is right now, but
that's not what they're saying. They're saying it killed more lives in a single year than either the First World War or the 4-year-long Black Death.
It may have killed, and people, 1/3 of the population was sick with it. At least they didn't all die.
God damn.